Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just about 2 minutes. We're going to let a few more people trickle in. Welcome, everyone. We are just going to get started in about 2 minutes. So thank you for joining us this morning.
Hello, everybody.
Before we officially get started, I'm going to give you a tour of how to use Zoom. So for today, if you have any questions, there should be a Q&A box in the bottom of your screen that you can click and type and ask questions. We'll have people here answering questions, and Toni will also answer questions at the end. We also have the chat open, so if you want to say that's really awesome or super cool things, you're welcome to also say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're from. Everyone can see what's in the chat, so please be respectful, be professional. But again, if you have any questions about what is being presented or what's going on with Prowler 5, the best place to put those is going to be in the Q&A, so we can make sure every question that is asked gets answered. Chat is disabled. Love to hear that. Let me make sure I can turn that on right now. Attendees can chat with everyone. All right. Is chat working now for everybody? Beautiful. All right,
Yes,
say
I
hello. Let us know where you're from. We're really excited to have you here. I'm going to kick it over to Toni de la Fuente, the founder and CEO of Prowler, to let us know
Thank you.
what's going on.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for joining today. Today is a very, very special day. We launched last week Prowler 5, but today is more like the community launch, right? Because we are in this remote webinar. Last week, we were at the reInvent in Vegas. Very, very exciting week, but this week is even better because we are all at home and also we have the chance to talk to the whole community. So thanks everybody again for joining. Let's get started. So we are going to talk about the version 5, and some of you already know what is the alias name for version 5. Okay, type in the chat if you remember the alias, aka no? Power Slave. Power Slave is the 5th album of Iron Maiden, and casualty or not, is the 5th version of Prowler. So, who knows what is going to be the version 6 of Prowler? We will see, we will see. Probably in 2025. Okay. Again, I'm Toni de la Fuente. I started with Prowler a few years ago, and now I'm the CEO of the company. I've been in cybersecurity and cloud security many years, probably more than I wanted, 25 years at least. And also I worked for AWS as a security engineer and a consultant for them. I live in Granada. I'm now actually in Granada in a town called Alfacar in the mountains. Some of you already know this town, so you are more than welcome to visit us. So 8 years of Prowler. So today we are launching version 5, but we have been doing a lot of things in the last years. So I started with a little script, bash script, in 2016. And after talking to a lot of people, showing how to secure your cloud, initially in AWS, adding more and more checks. Remember, initially only CIS checks, but now we have more than 1,000 checks. across the major cloud providers and Kubernetes. Prowler became more and more popular in 2019. In 2021, I started working full-time on Prowler and making Prowler multi-cloud. We got to 6,000 stars in 2022. Also, Pepe and Sergio joined the team. They are very active also in the repo. And we started the company last year and raised 6 million, making Prowler also venture capital backed company. After new logo change, we launched Prowler 4 and now Prowler 5. And today is important. Prowler 5 is very important because it's a unified platform for multi-cloud, not only to scan your infrastructure, but also to use it and integrate it in your workloads, because we are also launching an API, a new, very modern UI, an SDK, and many more things that you are going to see. So what's going on right now with the current state of cloud security? So if you go out and look for solutions or products, you will see that there is a lot of offering, actually. You can see a lot of SaaS solutions for CSPM or CNAPP or whatever Gartner wants us to call it. But most of them are black boxes. So you have to go, sign up, and that's all. Use it and enjoy it. Some of them are legacy solutions or proprietary, so you don't have control of what you have, of course, or whatever those services are doing in your cloud infrastructure. You trust, of course. And also lack of customization or not customization at all, which makes hard to adapt to your needs. Also, remember always these tools are creating a lot of noise, too many incidents, false positives, etc. And there is no way, unless you have the opportunity to modify that, no way to find the needle in the haystack, right? And last but not least, those solutions are very costly and complex. From your need to the solution takes time, because you have also to pay for them. So that is why we have Prowler and Prowler 5. We want, and we are open source and community-driven solution. Of course, it's transparent, allows you to create new improvements, to create customizations, not only creating new checks, but also new remediations. And now with a new application, with new UI, you can create also new reports, new dashboards, do integrations with our new API, etc. With different options, you can filter out the noise with all the findings that we have, and based on the more than 1,000 checks that we have now. And Prowler is very cost effective and simple to get, right? You can go to GitHub or to our website, sign up online, pay for what you use, or just use the on-prem, download it and use it by yourself. It's open source, okay? What type of problems, what type of use cases are we solving to make sure we are all on the same page? First of all, for security services, right? For your audits, for your security assessments, either one point in time assessment or continuous monitoring assessments, hardening, and remediation. Remember, we can do also remediation now in Prowler. I'll show you. You can do pen testing, white box pen testing of your cloud security incident response. If you have an incident, you can run Prowler and you will most likely to know what's going on in that account or Azure subscriptions or projects or Kubernetes clusters. Also, Prowler helps you to be compliant with some more than 30 actually compliance frameworks. And now we have some checks for threat detection, like to detect lateral movement or recon, enumeration, etc. in the cloud. And last but not least, data visualization and reporting. And that is something that we are going to keep growing a lot during 2025. Of course, we have a very, very large community. You all are part of that community. People love us, and if you love us, also share this with us. That helps also us to keep growing the community, to keep growing also our user base, which is going to be great for to keep improving Prowler, of course. Thank you, Ground Effects, Genome Core, Deloitte, and Idealo for your support, of course, on this. So let's go to the important part here, right? Prowler 5, aka Power Slave. So we started adding a new UI, a new API, an SDK, and persistent storage. And this is very important because before this, we had only the CLI, right? But now we have a whole application. You can use the CLI or everything else on top. I'll show you more details on that. So it's a new UI component where you can drill down into all the findings, an API for many different use cases, not only whatever we show in the UI, but many others. An SDK also to manage better integrations. Remember, we have only the CLI in everything, and now we have the core of Prowler with an SDK. The CLI is one interface, the API is another interface, and also the UI is on top of the API. And with that app, we have also a database. It's Postgres, and you can when you scan using the app, all the findings are stored in a database. So with this app, you can do whatever you want. So your favorite one-time assessment or point-in-time assessments for your security assessments for yourself or for third parties, but also you can keep the application running for continuous monitoring. So remember, you can still use the CLI and also the app. Support for both continuous and ad hoc security assessments. Of course, if you need to stay continuously protected, you keep Prowler running. You can keep running the application. So we have expanded the detection and remediation framework with more than 1,000 security controls. We added a bunch of security controls for Azure, also for AWS, and some for GCP and Kubernetes, remember. And added a bunch of new remediation options with the Prowler Fixer. Prowler Fixer works from the command line, and it's very, very straightforward to use. You will see now. And also very important, this is something that we are going to launch after Christmas. It's ready, and you will enjoy a lot this feature. This is to create checks using artificial intelligence. We have a CLI to create those checks. So you can tell Prowler, hey, give me a check for this, this, and that, and gives you the code, the tests, all the metadata, and then you can run it. You will see that very, very soon as a part of Prowler 5. So this is the UI. I'll show you in a bit. If you want to play with it, you will see how to install it locally using Docker Compose or with our SaaS, Prowler Cloud. Is the new version of Prowler Pro or Prowler SaaS that we used to call. You can go there straight away, create your account, and that's all. Add your cloud providers. And the API, this is key also because you can do a lot of things through the API. Either if you use the on-prem Prowler or you can use the Prowler Cloud, you can go directly to the API and see all the options. You can browse through the users, create, of course, your token, create a new tenant, because Prowler 5 is multi-tenant. You can add providers and do everything through the command line. We will release an article about how to do some stuff through the command line soon as well. But you can go straight and use it. The documentation is very comprehensive, as you can see here. So to recap a little bit, more than 1,000 controls or security detections and remediations. And now the application, as you can see, is Prowler, the core of Prowler, or we call it Prowler SDK. and an API on top of it with Django. Then we have the Prowler, the new UI with React, with Next.js. We are using Bulky also to create all the tasks, the queue of tasks, everything also in a stored in a database. With Celery, we have the workers that are scanning different AWS accounts or Azure subscription in Google Cloud, etc. Okay, and remember, on top of the SDK is the CLI as well. So you can install Prowler the same way that you can install Prowler so far, pip install Prowler, or do the installation for the whole app, as you are going to see now. So just to make sure we are all understanding the new Prowler 5 and the new platform. So you can download Prowler, use it as a CLI mode, as a server mode with the app, or as a developer. If you want to create new checks, etc., you can just do the git clone, right? Git clone of the GitHub repo. But if you don't want to do anything of this, and you want us to do that for you, to maintain that for you, you can come to Prowler Cloud, which is the same Prowler, exactly the same Prowler, of course, with the billing part, etc., but it's the same, and we manage the infrastructure. And of course, we will be adding more services for the developer experience and knowledge experience in the next few months that you will see. Here you go. So the platform, you can install it, pip install Prowler, or the app with the files and the Docker Compose app. The Prowler Cloud is the same, but the only difference is, of course, the billing part, because you can go to Prowler Cloud through the AWS Marketplace, for example, or create direct payments using Stripe. It's the same API, the same UI. You will be able to run also custom checks in Prowler Cloud as well, and is resource-based pricing. So it's very straightforward to understand. Okay. Demo time. Let's go and see this running. And I don't have a video, so if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to do everything live. So let's see. Let's see if it works. Okay, first thing first. The CLI pip install Prowler, right? The same installation. We recommend though using pip-x install Prowler. I already have Prowler installed. Okay. Prowler version is the latest version. You can see 5.01, okay? And if you see, everything works exactly the same as before. So you have the CLI ready. The same CLI, the same outputs, the same formats that you are already familiar with, exactly the same still there, including the local dashboards. Okay, if you want to use the local dashboards with the local CSVs, etc., everything is there. What I'm going to show you now here is the remediations, fixers, the Prowler fixers. So in version 5, we added a bunch of new fixers, which is pretty cool, and you can use them regardless. You use Prowler on-prem or Prowler Cloud. Remember, everything is the platform. So you can do Prowler, for example, we have fixers for AWS list fixers. We have like 22 fixers now. So the way to run Prowler fixer is very straightforward. You can just check, I have here this. You can just check guard duty, for example. See here, guard duty is, if it's enabled in this region, you can run it. In this case, to check if it's enabled or not, in this case it's failing, it's not enabled, okay? To check it, I only need security audit permissions. But if I want to fix it, because let's say that we are in a rush because we are in an auditory and we need to enable, let's say, guard duty or public, to make sure we don't have public snapshots or EBS default encryption, all the low-hanging fruit in terms of remediation, runtime remediation, okay? You can do this very straightforward with Prowler if you have permissions, okay? So every check here has underscore fixer py with all the permissions that you need. But let's think that we have already the permissions. Actually, I'm running this as an admin to make sure I have permissions, right? So I do just fixer, adding dash fixer, and it's going to fix it straight away. See? Guard duty is not enabled, scan complete, fixing done. If I come here, guard duty was disabled in this account. If I refresh, guard duty is enabled now. See? It's very straightforward. Of course, if you don't specify regions, and it's going to enable guard duty in all regions, or to fix whatever it finds in all the regions that finding failing. Okay. So it's very powerful. You can create a lot of different fixers. There is a fixers also configuration file where you can also configure whatever you want to fix in AWS, Azure, GCP, or even Kubernetes. But always, Prowler always needs the enough permissions, at least that specific permission. In this case, for guard duty is enable guard duty, enable recorder, I think is the permission. Okay. Okay, good. Next thing, I want to install Prowler from the cloud, right? So if I come here, Prowler, let me show you this. This is the repo. I don't need to clone the repo. In this case, I have it cloned. What I need, though, is the Docker Compose file, see, with all the components, and also the .env file with the default keys. Of course, you have to change this for production or for your own usage, but we wanted to have some default keys and configuration to make sure Prowler works at first try. Okay, so I have it here, and I can do Docker Compose add. This is going to load Docker Compose with all the components that we have seen before. See, and now it's already ready here in localhost 3000. The Postgres is running, and everything else is running, and all the workers that are waiting for us to scan something, right? Let me start the localhost here, and the first thing I have to do, whatever I use, local or in the cloud, is to sign up. I'm going to create my account. Let's say Toni, Prowler, Toni@prowler.com. Then I think I had this created before. Let me do this. 1 second. And once you have your user, this is going to be that admin user in this tenant, okay? So you can invite other users here. If you don't have anything in the overview, you need to add cloud providers and see everything else. In order to keep going with the demo, so you can see that it's exactly the same, I'm going to jump into Prowler Cloud, which is the same, and I already have providers and accounts added for you to see everything, okay? So let me go here. No, not this one, right, this one. Let me go here. And in this case, as you can see, I already have data here. For example, it's loading all the providers that I have created already. So the first thing that you can see here is an overview of all the providers that you have and the percent of passing checks, failing checks, and total resources to give you an idea of what you have. If you have AWS, Azure, GCP, or Kubernetes, and you can also see specific results by provider. You can see the overall information and the top 10 fail findings, see, by severity. Of course, you can drill down here by clicking on the critical, okay? And it goes to everything detailed and already sorted by critical. Okay, in this case, I have an instance listening to the port 22 to the internet. So I can see all the information here, and to learn more, as you can see, this is taking you to the documentation or AWS documentation. We will add here more details. As you know, we can add even the commands to fix it, and many other recommendations to understand the finding, right? As you can see here in the side menu, you can also launch and scan as soon as you want. So if you can here, you can launch on a scan if you have already some accounts added. So for example, if I want to launch this Prowler demo, I say like today and run it straight away. Okay, you can see the launch. If it fails for some reason, you are going to get here all the information. You can run it by default once a day, but you can run also ad hoc scans if you are working on your hardening, you are working with your different accounts, making sure that everything works fine, or just creating new assessments. Okay, so you have the freedom of creating as many assessments as you want, and by default the first time that you create one is going to be every 24 hours, and then you can update the name. And also, if you come here to cloud providers, you can add as many providers as you want, like accounts. Let's say, see, AWS account, Google Cloud, Azure, or Kubernetes cluster. The Kubernetes cluster is to scan from outside unless you run Prowler from inside, okay? So you can see here everything as I mentioned in the overview. You can also go to compliance and see all the scans. This is the latest scan for AWS, for example, where you can see all the compliance cards. We are working on the specific reports per compliance framework, and we are adding also more compliance frameworks and specific reports. So you will be able to download the report on PDF very soon, okay? And then there are some ways to browse through issues. So of course you can browse through all the findings and drill down, analyze everything that you have based on the different dates, based on you can do a free search, filter by severity, for example, like show me only the critical, fail in, for example, one of these scans, this one, for example. See, I have this one only. Okay. So you can go through all the findings this way, filtering also by different dates. See here. More stuff. So you can also have everything related to IAM across all the providers. So you can see everything. In this case, we have 32 entries in 4 pages. You can go through all the providers. See, even you don't have to switch across different providers. You see here everything. Let me see if we have an Azure finding here as well. Probably in the last page. Let me see. No, we don't have Azure here, but you can see everything, including Kubernetes RBAC issues. See here, this is the services that we are filtering, the RBAC and the Kubernetes, and the IAM. Okay, more stuff. Users. So you can create users and invite by inviting the user. Next week you will have RBAC here. RBAC allows you to create users with different permissions. For example, you can invite colleagues or other areas or the departments in your company to see only certain data in Prowler. Okay. And also in this case, because this is Prowler Cloud, you can have also the billing. This is important because you can see here, as you see, based on the number of resources that we scan, we explain all this stuff here. You will see how much are you going to pay if you use Prowler Cloud. Okay, it's very straightforward and very easy to understand when it comes to not to managing yourself. Okay, Prowler if you don't want to. And the different payment methods, of course, you can add your card, but also you can use AWS Marketplace. So all this stuff is the UI of Prowler, but we have also the API. Let me show you the API here because I think it's pretty cool to understand everything that we have here. For example, User, you can get the different users, the authorization, you can list of all the users, you can register new user through the API, retrieve user information, you can get also a token in order to interact with the API, create a tenant, list all tenants. Remember, every time that you log in, if you are not invited, you create a new tenant out of the box, either if it's in the cloud or local, same, right? Invite other users, add new providers, and we will add more providers in the future as well, in addition to AWS, Kubernetes, Azure, and GCP. So this is very to create also the schedule, user verification, etc., etc. So there are a lot of good options through the API. The team has done a very, very good job here as well. So take advantage of this open API to use and create stuff here. More features. Let me go here. Yes, next things that are coming. The roadmap, what is coming next? So we have a roadmap.prowler.com with everything that you need to know, as you can see here, that is coming, kind of, in terms of dates, because you know, in engineering, not everything is written in stone, but we are working on filters, in addition to the existing filters, to be able to filter also by resource type, check type, categories, mute findings, all that stuff. We are working on that. We are working on export as CSV and other output formats from the table, adding more parameters into the finding view, like first seen, how old is this finding, all the stuff. We're improving our documentation for API and RBAC that is going to be most likely tomorrow. Let's see if we have it tomorrow, but yes, it's almost done actually. And we are also working to add other features that you are already familiar, probably if you are a Prowler SaaS customer, to add a single sign-on, Security Hub integration, the mute list, social logging with GitHub, with Google, S3 integration, and Jira. And after that, we are adding more features that you can see here. Please go here and add your votes. That will help us to prioritize. And also you can send me an email to discuss other features or even providers that you may need, okay? Any information helps a lot for us to prioritize. Remember, you can also contribute, creating new controls, new remediations, and new features for the whole application now. What can you do now? So of course, you can, if you want to try it right now to see if you are secure or not in your cloud, if you have your cloud secure, go to cloud.prowler.com or download Prowler and test and scan your infrastructure. With Prowler, you can avoid ransomware attacks in the cloud. You can avoid security credentials, leaking of credentials, and the most important things that can happen in the cloud, right? We invite you also to join our community Slack. You have here the URL. You can go to download Prowler at prowler.com or the GitHub repo. If you are not aware of our public workshop, go to prowler.com workshop and you will become a master of Prowler, following self-paced exercises using Prowler, okay? You can create also custom checks using our developer guide, custom checks and many more things. And also remember, we have a lot of docs and tutorials in docs.prowler.com. And I think that's all from me. I remember I told you, Laura, that this was going to be 35 minutes. 35 minutes. Yeah, we have questions or comments here? Now it's time for that. Yeah, everything worked. Yeah. Mike, yeah, the demo worked kind of like a charm, right?
So, Tony, our first question is for GCP, AWS, Azure, will the latest CIS benchmarks be updated? Documentation only lists two for Azure and GCP currently.
Yes, we are updating everything. Is going to be if some are already in the. I think AWS is already the latest, but everything if it's not the latest, it's going to be. So we are partners of CIS, and we cannot be on time releasing with everything that CIS has, but we have that in mind. Actually, Pedro Martin, Pedro Root on GitHub is on charge of that. So Pedro, you know now what you have to do. But most of them are, if not the latest, the very updated version. Okay. Okay. This next question. Yes, threat detection using Prowler. Okay, let me show you a little bit here in our documentation. This is pretty cool thing to know. If you come here to Prowler docs, open source, tutorials, and this is threat detection is here, AWS threat detection. Let me share this link here. Threat detection is very, very powerful. So we have some sort of let me think a little bit because we have a customization of our threat detection based on a search in the last number of hours, in this case 24 hours on CloudTrail, with following a pattern. You know that when you do enumeration or privilege escalation, there is a pattern that may be in your CloudTrail. So if you see this information here and you see the configuration in Prowler config, you see the way that we have done it. Also, LLM hijack attacks that we control as well. This is something new that we added for version 5. Yeah. Okay, that is for the threat detection. The other question is also in billing is based on resource in our cloud, but I'm not resource inventory. Yeah. So the if billing is based on resource, what is the inventory? We tell you the number, the resources that we scan, and we will show you soon a dashboard of resources. It's like the resource view. So you're going to see resources and issues in on those resources. We are working on that as well. Okay. In the CLI, there is no option to create an inventory apart of the quick inventory. We are adding, actually Drew is working on that, adding an option to see all the scanned resources from the CLI as well. Okay, we didn't have time to include it by the release, but it's something that is coming. Question about if we plan to expand Prowler to EC2 internal CIS scanning. We don't plan to use agents for Prowler, okay? However, if you use Inspector 2, Prowler can ask Inspector if you have everything okay on Inspector, okay? So one of the things that Inspector can do is to check CIS, if I remember correctly, or at least some of the internal Linux security best practices. So at least Prowler can check from outside how Inspector is, and also your SSM agent if it's throwing any error, okay? Prowler has some checks to query SSM agents, okay? For the IAR rule creation, you mentioned, will local LLMs be supported? Yes, we plan. I mean, we have now Gemini. We have to play with Gemini and with OpenAI. But we want to play, actually, I think Ruben has already tested it with anything NLM, with Llama 3. But yes, the idea is to support rule creation, not only with the public ones, but also with private ones, yes. And yeah, today we did an internal demo today, but we don't have time to show that. But keep an eye, because we are going to show that CLI tool in January for sure. It's pretty impressive. What permissions are needed to run the scan? Do you have a simple role? Yes. You have everything here, okay? In the documentation, if you come here to tutorials, authentication, or you can see the security audit. This is for AWS, okay? But if you go to Azure or Google Cloud Authentication, you see the same. But also, see here, we give you all the information on how to use it. Let me share this with you here. No, this one. And if you come here to the repo, where's the repo? It's here, permissions. There is a YAML file, this CloudFormation template for AWS, that this creates a role, Prowler scan role, that you can assume. You have to configure something here, but that is exactly what you are looking for, I think. Let me add this into the answer questions. Where is that? I don't have access now to that question. Yes, yeah, this one. There you go. Yep. Okay, more questions or comments? How to use Prowler SDK to integrate Prowler in our pipeline? Good point. We will release an article about how to do that with Jenkins, etc., using the API or using the SDK. Okay, for you to know. Is very straightforward. Actually, you guys have to tell us if it's worth it or not for us to bring back the JUnit format. Remember that we have JUnit back in Prowler 2, if I remember correctly, for Jenkins and code build. Used to be helpful. I don't know, because not a lot of people is asking for that. Yeah, Ben, you want JUnit. Actually, you did the JUnit integration for Prowler too, no? I don't remember. Because to integrate that with on CI/CD tools is very helpful. So yeah, that is a matter of adding the XML support. It's not very hard though. Okay, what else? More questions or comments? Remember, you have here all the engineers also online, or most of them. Also, we have Matt Johnson, our developer relations. So he is helping with new contents, improving also the documentation. So ask Matt for new stuff. So now, for you to know, we are releasing in an article about how to solve to fix issues in the code from Prowler with Prowler Fixer. Also, that is probably going to be launched this week or next week. Oh, remember, next week is Christmas week. It's going to be hard for everybody to read blog posts, but anyway, we have that ready. Another one for Bedrock security, that we have new checks for Bedrock. I can show you actually here. Look. This is something that Sergio has done, Prowler, AWS, list checks, service, Bedrock. See, Bedrock guardrail enable, prompt attack filter enable, guardrail sensitive information filter enable, invocation logging enable, and encryption enable for Bedrock. Okay, and that is another article that we have ready to release, and a few others like the CI/CD integration and something else that I'm missing. But yeah, we are working. So if you want something, ask that in the Slack, and we will be very happy to help with that. And remember, help us with new features in the Prowler public roadmap. This is going to help us a lot in order to prioritize stuff. Okay. Good. If there is nothing else.
Wonderful. I added the link to join our Slack in the chat. I will be posting this video online today. If not by end of day, definitely tomorrow morning it will be up. Thank you, Toni, for walking us through all of the amazing updates for Prowler 5. I know everyone is really excited about it.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for joining today. It's great to see some well-known names here. So you know where to find us on LinkedIn or on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on, of course, our Slack. Please contribute. This is the way to make internet more secure. Actually, this is not just buzzwords. This is the way to make the cloud more secure and make more companies, more organizations moving to the cloud, is having powerful tools, open source tools for everybody. So we strongly believe on this, and with your help, we can keep growing. We can grow. Thank you, everybody. See you soon.